Hello fellow treasure hunters! In this video I will show you the Quest Q30. The Q30 is one of the most popular metal detectors at the moment, because it is well performing but only lies in the middle price range. It has the most important features like a pinpoint function, automatic ground balancing and different tone settings. Also it has 6 different search modes, for example an underwater search mode because it is completely waterproof up until 5 meters underwater. Also, it is very light, is easy to use and has a strong built-in battery. But nonetheless, it is not nearly as expensive as other high-end detectors. That's why we will take a closer look at the Quest Q30. This is the scope of delivery for the Q30. Here we have the Raptor X search coil, 28 times 23 centimeters big. These are the screws needed to attach the coil to the shaft. This is the upper shaft with the control unit and an armrest. Here we have the lower shaft piece that will be attached to the coil, a magnetic charging cable and the charger. Wired headphones are also in the package, and also a quick start guide. Let's get to the assembly of the Q30. At first we take the lower shaft piece and put these rubber rings into it. On both sides there is a rubber ring needed. Now we take the search coil and put the shaft piece into the coil. This ring has to be put into the coil on the right side. And after we will take the screw and put it through shaft and coil. Put this piece on the other side and fasten the screw. Leave it just a little loose that you can adjust the angle afterwards. Now we will connect the lower shaft piece with the coil with the upper shaft piece. For that, just open the cam lock so you are able to pull out the shaft. So we open the lowest cam lock to insert the shaft piece with the coil. Now adjust the length of the detector to your size. To use the armrest properly, we have to move the control unit further down the shaft. Move it to the position where your elbow lies in the armrest. At last we have to connect the coil cable to the control unit. For doing this, wire the cable around the shaft, not too firm but also not too loose, and connect the plug in the right position to the control unit. Tighten the nut and now you are ready to search. Let's take a look at the control unit of the Q30. You operate it with these buttons. The arrow buttons for up and down, the settings button in the upper middle, the pinpoint button in the lower middle, and the square buttons on the right side. The biggest part of the display is filled with the target ID arc. The ID number of the currently detected object will be displayed in the middle. Under the ID arc you can see the active search mode. You can change the search mode by holding the lower square button and using the arrow buttons to navigate through the menu. Under the search modes, you can see the different settings. Depending on the active mode, some options are unavailable. You can navigate through the different settings by pressing the Settings button. The first setting is the discrimination. With the discrimination, you can activate or deactivate different segments of the target ID arc. Just use the arrow buttons to navigate through the arc while in discrimination setting, and activate or deactivate them with the upper square button. For example, you can deactivate the first 4 segments to discriminate iron. The next option, Threshold, is only available in gold search modes. You can adjust the volume of the background sound with the arrow buttons. In the next menu, Tones, you can decide how many different tones the detector will be able to make when searching. You can set it to 2, 3 or 4 tones, as well as on Pitch, where you hear a constant noise which changes its, pitch when there are signals. Which mode you use is totally up to preference and what you are used to. With the Phasen option, you can change the volume of iron signals from 0 to 5. The overall volume can be changed by using the volume regulation buttons at the left side of the control unit. Press the lower volume button again when already at the lowest volume level to activate the vibration. The lower button on the other side of the control unit changes the brightness of the display backlight. The Q30 has a ground tracking feature, which you can turn on or off by holding the lower square button and then pressing the Settings button. It will automatically analyze the ground for mineralization and calibrate accordingly. You can also perform ground balancing by pressing and holding the lower square button and pumping the coil up and down a few times. It is also possible to change the ground balancing manually. Press the lower square button once and hold one of the arrow buttons. The sensitivity of the detector can be changed by using just the arrow buttons. The best sensitivity setting depends on the respective environment. When there are interferences by, for example, other detectors, you can press and hold the lower square button and use the volume regulation buttons to switch through different frequency channels. And that's it with the available settings for the Q30. At best, you try out different settings in different environments to get a hang of how they work. Depending on what and where you search, and what your preferences are, the Q30 offers many options. You can customize it to your individual needs.